This is Brevard Watch, the news experience focused exclusively on Florida's Space Coast. I'm Matt Reed. My thanks to Community Credit Union for sponsoring today's program. My guest today comes to us courtesy of the Rockledge Police Department. He is Officer Mike Cadore, longtime fixture here in Brevard County, deeply involved in our schools, and has some good ideas about school security and kids today. Mike, thanks for joining us in the studio here.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt.
Listen, since February 14th, it seems like police departments and schools are just jumping every day, 2 or 3 times a day, to all manner of reported threats. What is going on today? Are schools more dangerous? Are people more hyper-vigilant? What's your take?
Well, I think we're a little more sensitive to what's been going on. Very unfortunate situation that occurred, but it's a change, and it's the times. And not only a heightened alert of what's happening in our schools, but just in our communities as a whole. It's just unfortunate now that the schools are getting the most of it right now.
It seems one of the things that is coming to the forefront in terms of public awareness is that relationship between schools and police departments. School resource officers, for example, are something that the governor wants at every school by the end of the year. How do police and schools work together when there's, say, a threat at Rockledge High School? Somebody posts something to Snapchat that says, "Yeah, watch out for at RHS tomorrow. There's going to be, a shooting or something's going to happen," and it's just a line in a snap that gets shared around. What happens?
One of the things that there's a process, and if this happens during the school time frame or after, the school resource officer who's in place immediately, it's a collaborative effort. We're making contact, of course, with the school board countywide, our sheriff's department if need be, and even the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. What is happening? How do we come together, and how do we either suppress this threat, rule it out as a threat, and be able to put things in position to make sure that the children are safe?
Have you ever personally been involved in a case like that?
Not personally myself, but a lot of the training that I have gone through as a school resource officer and officer as a whole, the routine training of this, it allows you to be able to be prepared for it, but when it hits, it's very difficult to tell how you're going to be able to address these situations here. Most of them back when we were coming up, you pull a false alarm, you may call in a threat, but it never panned out. But nowadays, they're very real, very real.
How is policing a school different than, say, working the vice unit or just doing patrol? Are the problems different? Do police see it as small-time stuff, or do they see it as busier and more difficult? What do you make of it?
Well, the shift has changed. When you look at a school resource officer, everything is still the same. Protect and serve. And I think the visibility within the schools of the school resource officers are very, very important. And whether you're on the streets, a school, a hospital, whatever the case may be, the mindset is the same. Protect and serve. Will the incidents be a little bit different? Sure, over the years they have. But now, whether you're pulling a vehicle over, getting a call in on at a home, and unfortunately now, even in a school, the threats are very serious and very real.
Do you see more change or the tempo of police work being affected by social media?
Oh, most definitely.
If so, how?
Yeah. Social media is not isolated. An incident can occur across the world, and it's going to have some form of effect right here in our community. Some of the threats that may come out, you don't even know if they're a local or somewhere out of the area, out of the threat.
Right.
But they all have to be addressed with sincerity. They all have to be addressed as a serious matter until it is ruled out. So social media plays a huge role. And one of the huge roles also being able to educate and inform, getting the information out correctly in order to be able to make the best assessment.
Sort of the fight fire with fire thing. There might be bad information out there or things, and you could, I was interviewing a pastor, Jarvis Wash.
Good friend. Good friend.
And he talked about using social media to spot where kids started to feud. Trying to find those conflicts before they grow up into street crime or, kids trying to take justice into their own hands and get into fights or, God forbid, shootings. Is that something that police think about more themselves these days?
Well, actually, when you look at that, Matt, utilizing social media as a tool, and I'll state it in this fashion here, if the social media is out, trying to be able to educate and being able to build a relationship, especially with our youth and with the community. If they have an understanding of who they may be able to go to, you're hoping that that resource is a credible source to disseminate some of the information, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a principal, or whether it's just someone in the community. Social media is huge in being able to get out that information, but you have to build that relationship so they'll know who the information has come from and is
Right.
A credible source.
Relationships are everything, and it sounds
Yes.
like you hear about that with community policing.
Yeah.
It's got to be the situation in schools with
Yes.
resource officers
So true.
as well. Why are resource officers so important to have? I mean, why not other things? I mean, Rockledge is one of, I think, 3 cities in Brevard County that on its own decided to assign resource officers to elementary schools.
Yes.
Why do you think that's important?
You know, one, I like to commend the city of Rockledge, from our city manager on down to our council and everyone, to be able to implement something like this in our schools. Establishing a relationship with our law enforcement at elementary level is critical, not just in building relationships, but the matter of safety. Because as students, they may not want to be able to go to that teacher, or they may not want to go to their peers and those students, but if they're able to reach out to a school resource officer at an elementary level, then there's a better understanding. A lot of times, unfortunately, through social media and even in the community, law enforcement isn't seen in a positive light. And the more that we can be seen not only in that positive light and being able to educate and build positive relationships, I think the better we can be, overall.
Or wouldn't somebody see law enforcement in a positive light?
Well, unfortunately, you know, we're in a day and age when law enforcement comes on the scene, it's because they need help. And whether it's to go after the good guy or the bad guy, we're just in a day and age where certain things are seen in a negative light. And through social media, it has opened up doors where there may be some officers who may have, let's say, addressed certain situations incorrectly, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But the more we can put it out in a positive light, the better off the relationships can be with our community and law enforcement.
Well, so interaction with the schools, police, very, very important. You've been around Brevard County for a long time. You've seen a lot of change. How would you size up the relationship between Brevard Public Schools and Rockledge Police today? I mean, we're kind of in uncharted territory after February 14th, but how would you size it up?
Being proactive. I think our relationship with the school board and even the county as a whole, we're very proactive, meaning programs are already in place, being able to educate the kids, some of the after-school programs within the school with the visibility of our students, I think helps. So Brevard County has been very, very fortunate because our relationship between city, student, education has been very, very positive.
Well, when we come back, is it the video games? What's different about kids today?
At Community Credit Union, we are always looking for ways, big and small, to make your life better. Manage your accounts online, anytime, anywhere, with eBranch Online and mobile services. Use your mobile device to check your balance, make a deposit, pay bills, apply for a loan, and more. It doesn't get any more convenient than this. Search for the CCU mobile app on your device and download it for free. At CCU, bringing you better options matters. Find out more by visiting ccuflorida.org.
This is Brevard Watch. I'm Matt Reed. My thanks to Community Credit Union for sponsoring today's program. Joining me in the BPS TV studio is Officer Mike Cadore of the Rockledge Police Department, deeply involved in Brevard Public Schools for a number of years. Mike, what's going on? The thing you see asked quite a bit since the school shootings have happened is, gosh, what's changed? Yeah. You know, we always had guns in this society. We always had grudges. We've always had mentally ill people. What is it today that's different? Is there something different about the kids and the students that you've encountered over the years or see in schools today?
You know, great question, and there's definitely a change. I think every generation has their shift in their changes. And one of the bigger things that I see now is through the style of parenting, supervision, and it kind of comes back around to communicating and educating with our kids, letting them know what's going on and aware. Yes, social media is a big part, and these video games distract and take away, but that's not the only thing. You know, the video games to me has a positive utilization tool as well. But when you look at the shift and the change, awareness and education, being able to specifically know that there is a problem. And if you know that there's a problem, how educated are we and how educated can we be to be able to address those needs? And that's been the shift. We can blame it on the kids are different. We were different when we were coming up.
Right.
It didn't result to certain things that we were able to be with our discipline. But I think, as always, awareness and educating is always is key. It's key.
I mean, if it were the video games, it would be a massacre a day. I mean, every kid plays these video games. It's not. I mean, it would be like what's that movie, The Purge or something, where everybody's running around. You know, it's anarchy. I don't think that can be a cause. It does seem, however, that disturbed students are finding places in electronic communication where they're finding each other and finding gruesome photos or places to buy and sell weapons or whatever else. I mean, how do you cope with that?
You know, and it's very difficult at times, especially if the parenting isn't there and the supervision. The accountability of what they are watching is not there, and even the balance. You know, should a child be able to play these violent video games? My take on that is no. But certain things that we looked at coming up was perceived as being violent. But there's a few things that were supportive of that. Parenting, and then some form of accountability. You know, we ran around a lot, and then as the video games did come in. So I think the parenting is key, and everyone needs help. You know, we need to realize you don't have to do these things by yourself. What tools and resources are available to help with the system? The video games and the technology is not going to go away. They're actually going to be more and more creative and more in depth as time goes on. But if we have some parenting, positive parenting, some supervision, some accountability, and if everyone's working together, I think we can definitely make some great strides in a positive direction.
It makes me wonder if maybe just strapped parents use the video games as the babysitter. You know, they're just, it's just the sheer number of hours sometimes of not real relationships and not real parenting. They may be in the same building, the same home, but it's not as much time together or conversations to really know what's going on in each other's life. That might be the fact.
That is so true, Matt. I think the quality of the communication because of those is down, but you have to be aware of it and being able to put those things away. The respect or lack of respect because of the video games that are involved and how you take these video games and I'm talking to you, but are you really listening to me? So the awareness is so important. It comes back to the parenting as well. So good point, but I think the video games, they are a great tool on one end, they're a bad tool on another, but what is the quality that we're getting out of our time because of these devices?
Drugs. Drugs have been a problem. I mean, I know since you and I were growing up, but how have the drugs changed that police see and encounter that are causing the problems?
Wow. You know, Matt, the drug problem in our communities and even across the world is of course, it's bad. It's gotten very bad at this time now. And I think over the years, the types of drugs that you take now can instantaneously have you hooked on them or can kill you instantaneously. How do you combat it and get away?
I thought crack was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do crack. I mean, I realize bad crack. No, but what I mean is that addiction rate and the crime that was a result of the crack, that was a crisis for the country.
Yes.
Here we are, and it just seems like an entirely different suite of drugs and different behaviors and different problems as a result.
And they affect generations. You know, when you talk about crack and these other drugs, they affect families, they affect communities. They're long-lasting, and you're right. Crack was a bad thing now, but all these different things, they're even disguised now. You know, some things look like candy that the kids are taking, and you know, so it's a difficult problem that we have. It's killing our communities. How do we combat it? Once again, getting those who need the help to help, being able to educate the students and the kids what is out there and what can harm, and what signs do you look for to tell if they're there. And when we're moving so quickly, sometimes we don't even see things that are right in front of us that may create a problem for us. So education, awareness, and being able to partner and get the help that we need, I think is huge. Huge.
The state just passed a pretty significant school security bill, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act, if I got that correctly. Superintendent Desmond Blackburn from Brevard Public Schools was one of those people called to Tallahassee to help the governor form the proposals that ultimately were passed. The gun pieces of that got all the attention because they're the most controversial. But there's another thing in there that seems like it has some potential. It's called a red flag law in other states, but it's something new called a threat protection order, where if educators, police, and others realize they have an unstable student who might be prone to violence or has done something that would make him a threat of, say, a school shooting, they can go to court, get an order, go to that person's home, take their weapons, make sure they can't buy any more weapons until they go and get some kind of help or clearance to go do that again. Do you think that makes a difference? What's your take on that?
Well, one, so we're so fortunate that Desmond Blackburn is being our superintendent, is being a part of that and being able to make that change. It's early in the stages. So one, to see that we're doing something, that is great. Is this the one fix all? Probably not. But taking some proactive steps to be able to do this, to identify those who may have that mental illness, get them the help that they need. The accessibility to the guns, make sure that that's very difficult so they don't get to them. Because those who, if they want to get to them, there's some ways that they still can. But taking a proactive step, getting the right minds at the table, that's what I'm very, very pleased to see that we're doing. Is this the best route to go about it? You know, time will tell.
Right.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Well, you're a police officer. You're firearm trained. You're no stranger to guns. Is this a gun problem? I mean, we're seeing all kinds of dug-in adult arguments going on right now about guns and whether we should have a marshal program in school. I'm not going to ask you for your take on that. But okay. You know, from the law enforcement point of view, and as somebody who's been around kids, what do you make of those arguments? You know,
and I don't even see them as arguments at this point as much as dialogue. You know, gun safety, and you have to be educated. So whether you're proficient with a weapon or not, who has access to that weapon? You know, it's not going to go off by itself unless someone has access to being able to get to it. Children being aware and educated at a very early age of the damages that they can do. Because if they're playing on a video game and they can't equate it to that, or if they have access to it because whether it's mental illness or someone who's stable that just may be going through, access to the weapons is a huge key that we need to be able to look at, not only within our schools, but within our homes, but also being able to purchase. It's just very easy to be able to get access to those weapons.
When we come back, how having coffee with a small group of dads is making a difference at one Palm Bay elementary school.
At Community Credit Union, we are always looking for ways, big and small, to make your life better. Manage your accounts online, anytime, anywhere, with eBranch Online and mobile services. Use your mobile device to check your balance, make a deposit, pay bills, apply for a loan, and more. It doesn't get any more convenient than this. Search for the CCU mobile app on your device and download it for free. At CCU, bringing you better options matters. Find out more by visiting ccuflorida.org.
This is Brevard Watch. I'm Matt Reed. My thanks to Community Credit Union for sponsoring today's program. Joining me in the BPS studio today is Officer Mike Cadore of the Rockledge Police Department, a longtime community partner with Brevard Public Schools. And we're going to talk about something that I know is dear to your heart, sir, and that is it's the Magnus Men's Group that meets every Friday morning in a little back room at Palm Bay Elementary School. Yeah. And you have been working with these guys. And it's a little bit different. It's not your typical tiger parents that you see leading the PTA everywhere. Explain.
Well, the Magnus Dad program, we meet every other week, twice a month. The Magnus program, Magnus being great, is a mindset of being able to let these dads know that you are great. The mission of the Magnus program was being able to not only get the dads more involved, but building a partnership with their kids and their education with the schools. And when we went in, the Principal Mall, thank you so much for allowing us to be able to bring the program to Palm Bay Elementary, and their partner and education coordinator, Ms. Barbara Miller, made this possible. There was a program, Take Her Dad to School Day, some time ago, and several hundred dads showed up. So something that started out small, it was amazing. When we walked into that school, about 15, 16 dads, and these kids was watching men walk into a school. it was like they were superheroes. We're hearing the kids saying, "Oh my God, is that the FBI? Oh my God, they look so important." So it made the dads feel great. So as when we go into these meetings, the importance of that has been, it's also been some kind of therapeutic. You know, even though we're educating, getting a stronger relationship as men from all walks of life, military. You know, there's a granddad, fathers who have children with disabilities. So if you're going in this meeting thinking you're having it tough, you're hearing some other dads who are finding solutions, other men with like-minded to be able to not only be more of a positive influence in their children's lives, but also building a stronger education so their children can see in school as well. So
These are tough guys.
yeah.
I mean, this is a group of guys wearing ball caps and camouflage hoodies, and you know, and who are tradespeople, and you know, like you said, one of them was a medically disabled combat veteran, and I'm listening to these guys talk, and the love that's coming out of them for their kids, and the curiosity they have about their schools, and a desire to get involved is no different from, like I said, the Tiger Mom. They just have a different cultural thing about them. Why don't we see more dads like that get involved in schools?
Well, you know, sometimes it can be because of work. Sometimes it can be because of absent fathers. But there are many dads, you just don't see them, that are grinding every day, that are doing great things. Hence, that's why we meet earlier in the morning time, so if they have to get back to work to do it. But when these children, there was a breakfast that took place. The fathers and their children had a breakfast. It was amazing to have the look on those children's faces when they're having this breakfast with their dads amongst all the other dads that were in there. And I can recall with my father coming into our elementary school up in Titusville many, many years ago, and he had on his police uniform, and I can care less. It was just a look to see my dad being there. It was huge. So though we have as dads some programs, we're looking to build a sidewalk to help with some safety with the kids. But in our discussion, if we got in, we're talking about safety and law enforcement, we don't wait around, we make a phone call. So Chief Rogers shows up from the Palm Bay Police Department. We're looking at education. We've had the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Sullivan, come in, and yourself. Men coming together, and if you have questions, we've been very fortunate, from the mayor to some of our local leaders in our churches who have come and been able to share their insight in regards to what's happening in our community. And I think finally, Matt, to share, the goal would be able to take this and go into the next school year to do it in some of the other schools. Encourage, educate, and empower not only yourself as a dad, but our children in their education and being able to help out in your schools.
What is the outcome you hope to have? I mean, is it to get more dads involved in doing projects at the school? Is it for more dads to get involved in the engagement in their students' homework? Is it just to listen to them about what is the, you know, to kind of get more of a sounding board?
I think it's a little bit of both. You have not only want consistency of the dads being able to do it, but being able to let the children know the education. I mean, can you imagine trying to do math problems right now? What are the resources? Sometimes as a parent, we just don't know the available resources that may be there. What should I do if my child is being bullied? As a father, at times, we want to take some matters into our own hand. Instead of us doing that, we have the counselors come into the meeting and says, these are the steps that you need to be able to take. So as we educate, what I like to see from this is every school being in a position to have a program. And it can just be not just dads, because moms rock. Moms are going to always be there for their babies. They're always going to be there and be supportive. But when Principal Maul comes in and he sees a room full of men who are there about the children, who are there about their education, nothing about egos, all about being able to keep them safe, keep them educated, and how can I do it the right way, it's amazing.
And it was safe to be a guy and to ask some knuckleheaded questions like guys ask. You know, you don't have to be quiet because you're afraid you're not already well versed on the classroom, you know.
That's so
it's like,
true.
what do they call that thing that, you know, or you get to see the kids' grades, you know? I mean,
yeah, that's true.
But what are you hearing today? I mean, you know, you've met with them at least probably 3 or 4 times since February 14th, the Parkland situation. Are they worried? What kind of questions or concerns do you hear fathers have?
The same as any other parent, or more importantly, any other father. Safety, and what can I do? If something were to happen in my school, and I keep it in our parent-dad group, it's amazing what their roles and their steps would be. The first thing would be, okay, hold on, guys. Let's get someone here that tells us what needs to be done. And they want them to not only learn and get a good education, but they want them to be safe. And I think that's with any parent across the board. But when it's specifically to the dads, we can use dad talk. And then when you start realizing that it differs on what actions they would take, but the one thing that we have all in common is we want our children to be safe.
And if you're the school leader and you hear the dads having concerns about certain things and offering certain forms of help or having different types of questions than other people have, that helps guide you, I suppose,
Yes.
in terms of what kind of information do I provide? What kind of questions can I anticipate that I need to inform parents about the next time something happens? Or, hey, if they've got some good ideas and they're willing to help my school, let's make time and room for them to come on in and help us out.
Oh my God, that's huge. And I think that's from the sidewalk that we're looking to do to come to the kids more on safety, a footprint that they can leave at the school, but also, just as you stated, the communication. When gentlemen have questions and don't have the right answers, who can we call to bring in? And I think every city and every area has someone that will be willing to come in and share that information to help not only their school, their community, and educating our kids and keeping them safe.
You mentioned your dad coming to school in his uniform.
Yeah.
Is that why you became a police officer?
Yeah. I knew my oldest brother also worked in probation. One brother was in the military. But my dad, we always knew that we wanted to serve. And my father kind of started this thing, if you don't serve your community now, don't expect your community to be able to serve you later. And I know by what I seen growing up and being around positive individuals, that's why I gravitated towards two things: public safety and education.
Say that again. If you
Don't serve your community now, don't expect your community to serve you later.
Love it.
Yeah,
All right, we're going to leave it at that. My thanks to Mike Cadore, an officer with Rockledge Police Department, for joining us today. My thanks to Community Credit Union for sponsoring today's program. I'm Matt Reed. This is Brevard Watch. We'll see you right here next Sunday on Spectrum Channel 496 and all week on YouTube and Facebook, #Brevard Watch.
At Community Credit Union, we are always looking for ways, big and small, to make your life better. Manage your accounts online, anytime, anywhere, with eBranch Online and mobile services. Use your mobile device to check your balance, make a deposit, pay bills, apply for a loan, and more. It doesn't get any more convenient than this. Search for the CCU mobile app on your device and download it for free. At CCU, bringing you better options matters. Find out more by visiting ccuflorida.org.